So, hi all, welcome back to Malware Analysis. I am Jay Lavanya, Assistant Professor of CS Department. So, today in this video, we are gonna discuss on the topic anti-malware analysis from Unit 5. Under this, we are gonna see the topic called analysis of HTML scripts. Okay, so let's dive into the topic. So, analysis of HTML scripts. So HTML scripts is a crucial component, or we can say it's a critical component in anti-malware efforts, as advisories or frequently weaponize HTML and JavaScript to deliver the payloads and execute the malicious code or conduct some phishing attacks. So instead of relying on some traditional file attachments like executables, attackers, they use some legitimate web features, and they also obfuscate to evade the security defenses. So that is a technique which is known as HTML smuggling. Okay, and here this malicious HTML is often accompanied by JavaScript and uses techniques like obfuscation and smuggling. As I told, like HTML is scripting analogy, smuggling. Okay, and to evade some deduction. And here also, this analysis requires both static and dynamic methods to uncover such cases. And this is what it is commonly used. Okay. And here, if you take the analysis base, right? It is also used in various cases, like where it is used in common things like static or in case of dynamic analysis. So this analysis of HTML script plays a major part over here. Okay, yeah. And next is that now let us discuss on what the common malicious HTML and script techniques. First of all, it is HTML smuggling. This sophisticated client-side technique, it uses HTML5 features like the blob object and JavaScript to construct and download some malicious files directly on the victim's machine. So how this HTML smuggling works? A phishing email or a malicious link directs a user to a specifically crafted HTML page. When the page loads, an embedded encoded JavaScript blob is decoded by the browser and assembled into a final malware payload. Example, a zip file containing an ISO or a executable file. So, why it is effective? This malicious payload never crosses the network in its raw form, allowing it to bypass a firewall, email gateway, and other traditional network-based security checks that look for suspicious file types. Okay, and like next, if you take before going to the cross-site scripting, okay, there is one more case like obfuscation. So this is a common topic which we have already discussed in Unit 2 as well as Unit 3. You can just go through on that particular video. Okay, so the obfuscation, attackers encode or conceal their malicious scripts to hide their true intent from anti-malware scanners and human analysts. What are the techniques involved if you take? Like string splitting. The code is broken into multiple substrings that are later concatenated and executed by the functions like eval, that is the evaluate function, which is commonly used in like HTML as well as in Python scripts too. Okay, and next like encoding, using this base 64, Unicode, hexadecimal, or custom encode functions to hide the readable strings. And next like dead code insertion, adding nonsensical or redundant code to make the script confusing and difficult to analyze. Okay. And next, like cross-site scripting. Okay. So this is called like HTML injection and cross-site scripting. These attacks insert malicious code into some vulnerable websites. So here, a successful attack can lead to various malicious activities such as session hijacking or stealing cookies and session tokens. And second, like data exfiltration. So here, forcing the user's browser to send some sensitive data to an attacker. And next, like defacement, altering the content of a web page. Okay. And next, like a web injects. So this malware, which is already installed on a system, adds some malicious HTML or a JavaScript to a legitimate website which is viewed by the user. So most often seen with some online banking concept. Okay. And the main goal of this web injection is that the injected code adds some additional form fields or captures some user credentials and sends them to an attacker controlled address. Okay. So this is the main features, or you can say like which is commonly used. Okay. And that is the thing which I used to say, that is HTML smuggling detection. So what is the main features of this HTML smuggling detection is that uh, like here like some example, like it where you have to use some HTML file which containing some encoded JavaScript which is executed by the victim's browser, downloading the next stage of the payload. So it uses a password or protected zip files to block the sandboxing analysis. And also it uses a disk image format called an .iso file to evade the mark of the web protection as a red canary. And next, like LNK files, which is disguised to lure users into executing to hidden .cmd and .dll files. Okay. So by means of this, you can able to go for these kind of variations. Okay. Just you have to just download the traffic analysis file as a zip file, and you can open the HTML in the Chrome browser. Okay, and thereby the zip file, if it is not opening, also just go through the image file which will be there over, and if it's giving the command on the thing, it will be automatically opened. Okay, so this is about the basic smuggling detection. Okay, yeah. And the next topic is that anti-malware analysis techniques involved in HTML scripting. The first of all, it's static, second one dynamic, and third is that machine learning. So what is static analysis? So this method examines the script's code without executing it, looking for some suspicious patterns and characteristics, like signature-based detection, looking for some known malicious strings or the function names or the file hashes. So this is less effective against some new or heavily obfuscated malware. Okay. And next, like de-obfuscation, automated or manual methods to reverse the obfuscated code and reveal its true readable content. So tools can help to identify the encoding string manipulations and flow altering techniques. And next, like abstract syntax tree analysis, a technique that analyzes the logical structure of the code, which is unaffected by the randomization based obfuscation. So machine learning, which can be trained on this abstract syntax tree to classify the scripts as a benign or some malicious thing. Okay. And next, about feature extraction, analyzing the statistical features of the code like entropy, a measure of randomness which is often high in some encoded data, or the frequency of the specific function like EVAL from care code that are often used in some malicious script. Okay, and next, like dynamic analysis. So here, this method executes the script in a safe, isolated environment or a sandbox to observe its behavior in real time. Okay. First, like a behavioral monitoring. So observing the script's actions such as attempts to drop files, create the new processes, or make some network connections, and sandboxes log all activity for the review. And next, like emulation, the script is run in a controlled virtual environment that simulates a browser, allowing analysts to observe its behavior without risking the host mission. And third, like interactive debugging. So using some browser developer tools like those in Chrome or the Firefox to step through the code and observe its execution flow in a controlled manner. Okay, and next, like condition based execution. Like if you take like sophisticated malware which can check for some specific conditions, example, detecting a virtual machine, and only which executes its malicious payload when those conditions are met. And analysis may require tweaking the sandbox environment to trigger the malicious behavior. Yeah, okay. And what form of, like HTML file which will be delivering agent, in Tesla. So there also it has some specific set of criteria which will be followed. So like in a initial contact, like z compressed file in order of contact, so which contains a single malicious compiled HTML file, like order of contact or like pdf.chm or shortwave 256. So when the victim opens this file, there will be a window which customer service please wait. So there will be some, okay, we will be just waiting, but this file which can be extracted some 7-zip to view the contents of what it is present in your decoy window. So the file contains some obfuscated JavaScript. Okay, that is executed when the file is open. When you deobfuscate this code, okay, by opening the file in a Chrome or in a Chrome developer tools, the code above that shows the result that is returned and stored in the R variable. Okay, so that will be acting as a breakpoint or halts execution, and the contents of the OR variable and copy to the further analysis. Okay, so here are the contents of the OR variable which shows the HTML code to display the decoy message and a command to execute the partial. So deobfuscated contents in terms of HTML script will be there. So initial partial which we executed in the background, right, when the file is open. When you deobfuscate this code, we can read it more easily by removing the final obfuscator or invoke expression IEX of. So attackers often insert some backticks into some sensitive commands like this to avoid some string recognition before partial. Ignore these characters. Okay, like a partial test underscore connection to ping some Google to verify the connectivity before continuing. And the second stage, like the downloaded content is not actually JPG, but rather further partial code that is executed, right? Like another function, there will be some set of function name and the process where it will be stored in the new object format, and by that it will be converted to a byte stage. Okay. That way we can able to write a byte arrays to a file also while executing. Okay, and the final agent is that we are left with some loaded DLL file. Okay, by means of that we can able to load the agent Tesla into a resasm.exe process to execute the file. So this is how in Palo Alto network they will be using these kind of A protected malware family uses some anti-analysis with Cortex XDR or next generation firewall. So that is why Microsoft compiled HTML files or another file format that can be abused by malicious actors in addition to the more common document or script delivery methods used. So it is important to make sure that the users are trained to be careful of any attachment, especially from some unknown senders. Okay, yeah. So in this video, we have discussed on the topic called analysis of HTML scripts, right? And the overview of it, and what are the key malicious techniques by using HTML script, like HTML smuggling or obfuscation, or web injection or cross-site scripting and HTML injection, and how it is commonly used and how it is replaced. And what are the anti-malware analysis methods for this HTML scripts, like static analysis or dynamic analysis, okay, or the machine learning. So all those stuff will be commonly used throughout this analyzing. I hope this video will be very useful for you. I hope we will see you in the next video. Thank you all.